All right.
All right. I think we might be in business. I would like to first and foremost apologize because I do have the sniffles and the sneezies and the clear throaties. So I'm going to have to do a lot of noises in the background. I'll cut it out as much as I can, but got a good old pandemic coming around. And I just wanted to be a part of something,
Yeah, I wanted to be sick too.
I wanted to fit in. I wanted to fit in with the crowd.
Yeah. I was jealous of the 400,000 who got to die.
Yeah, they seem. You know what though? Let's not joke about it. Rest in peace. That's probably really sad.
No, yeah, it's super terrible. All of it.
But I hope that it's not COVID. I don't think it's COVID. Let's just say, not to violate any HIPAA violations. Let's just say that I have a few antibodies that should fight against such a disease. But I could just be a little ill, a little under the weather today. So bear with me. I'm not even going to be funny. I'm going to be so serious and just tell a story straight face, stone cold. It's not going to be fun for you guys, and I apologize for that.
We're just like let's do this podcast like someone just shot your dog.
Hey everyone, let me tell you a story about Bloody Mary. So
yeah. poor baby dog. But that the USS Colossus, man, lost at sea. It's gone forever.
I named my dog USS Colossus. He's also gone forever.
That's actually a good name for a dog, I think.
Come here, USS Colossus. Come here.
Here's a good boy.
You have to do the whole thing. You can't just say Colossus or USS or anything like that.
Yeah, no. Well, it's his name. You have to call it by its name. That's
of course.
What the whole movie's about. Hey, just to start it off on this foot, have you seen all the Army Hammer stuff, dude?
I don't think so.
You haven't seen any of this Army Hammer news?
Is this? Are you about to meme on me right now?
No, it's real life. Do you know Army Hammer?
Yeah, like the baking soda.
No, the actor Army Hammer. He was in The Social Network. He was the Lone Ranger. Call Me by Your Name.
That sounds super familiar. Yeah.
Yeah. So he, just to run it down really quickly, my guy is insane, and DMs girls, talking about how he wants to eat them, as in he's a cannibal. And in one of the DMs, he literally says, "I am 100% a cannibal."
Oh no.
And there's a video of his kid sucking his toes, which is hilariously disgusting. And
that's scary as fuck.
They found his Finsta, and so on his Finsta he's smoking, I sound like my mom, smoking drugs. He's doing drugs on his, and posting this girl that he's gonna bang on his Finsta, but yet on his real verified Instagram account he's I am a cannibal.
Holy shit. I just looked him up real quick just so I could put a face to it. And yeah, I remember. He's a handsome young man.
He's also a little crazy.
Yeah, well, the first post was Army Hammer practices tying up mannequins, imagining women. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I just couldn't not say something about that for the day. I don't have any. We don't have to linger on it. But I was just that's a lot to take in about this guy, who is otherwise seemingly normal.
Interesting. Well, you never know. You never know.
Yeah, you never know when your neighbor's a cannibal.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I also had something to bring up to attention. I just wanted to call out another podcast, and that's why we drink, starring M. Schultz and what's her name? Christine Schaefer. Because they're okay. I listen to them here and there, whatever. And I just happened to listen to one of their more recent episodes, and guess what they covered, Craig?
What'd they cover?
Well, M. Schultz, they prefer to be, how do I say this? Their pronouns are them and they. M's is them and they. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah. Oh no! Oh no!
I would like to
Shit.
respect their wishes.
Yes.
Anyway, they reported on the Simpsons predictions.
Oh, so they were like, they're just listening to our podcast and ripping it off?
Yeah, and it was pretty fucking. And then, of course, they added a few more things than I did. They've been at it for several years, and they're probably more professional than me. But I think the timeline is perfect. I think they just copied me verbatim.
I think so too.
So.
I just want to make everyone aware that you're going to hear a loud noise in a second.
Okay,
We'll explain.
I'll cut it out.
momentarily.
I can
You don't
easily
have to cut it out. I want it to be a part of the podcast.
Okay, so guys, this is in the podcast. Here you go.
Yeah. So bear with me for just a second as I do this. All right. Did we hear that? Was that okay?
Why did we want that involved?
I killed a spider.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if it's an absolute nightmare sound, cut that shit, and I think it'll still be funny after the fact.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you your life was on the line there, and somehow you pulled off a dub over that.
It was like I think it was a brown recluse. So honestly,
Oh,
it
no.
wasn't a good situation. I literally
Genuinely.
looked. I looked over to my left and I said, "Oh, you're here, dude. What's up?"
You're like, oh shit, you're here. And then he was like, oh shit, you're here.
Yeah, and he was, I killed him just like I said last week I would. I will kill him.
I have a stipulation. Like, I'm all for life. I like life and the world. There's importance of spiders and stuff like that, so they should live. My rule is if it's in my house, I get to kill it. Like, if I'm outside, you'll never catch me swatting shit, unless it's a mosquito, because they're trying to kill me. Like, I won't squash spiders out of spite. Like, I'm not gonna, destroy nature. Only if they're in my house, I have the full rank to destroy.
Yeah, my problem is, so we have, an awning above our front door, and we'll have, all summer long, we'll have garden spiders, and we know to look for them, and, they tie their web in the night, and they take it down in the day, right? So it's not that, big of a deal. And what we'll do most of the time, if we get home and we, we realize he's there, we'll pick up a stick, we'll move him, we'll tear down his web, he's going to rebuild it right back up, we go inside, he gets to chill. But, man, if I wake up early in the morning and walk into that shit, I'm probably going to end up killing him. No fault of his own. I didn't look, but I'm freaked out by it. Just the fact that he's going to be on me, possibly. And if I see him, he's dead. Because he's huge. They're huge spiders. So,
yeah, I hate those things. They're fucking terrifying.
No offense, but you got to die sometimes.
Okay, well, good. I'm glad that we discussed that. We had a few announcements, a few things. Craig, one more announcement. Do you want to go ahead and tell the lovely goons?
Dude, okay, so I did it. You guys were the whole world, even across the galaxy. People were saying,
Mr. Taiwan man or woman.
Yeah. People were saying there's no way Craig is ever going to get this podcast YouTube page up and functioning. And I've been hearing it for weeks now. Just everyone chattering in the back of my mind. But guess what, you fucks? I did it. We did it.
There.
The podcast has a YouTube page, and almost all of our episodes are up. The first 3 are not up, and they will probably not be up. Episodes 4 through 12, and then from here on out will also be uploaded to YouTube. So if that's how you prefer to listen to your podcast, because I know a lot of people watch podcasts on YouTube now. It's not me and Andrew on video or anything like that. It's just a static image with the podcast cover art, but it is there for you, because I know I watch podcasts while I'm cleaning on YouTube, so it's there for you guys if you want it. So check it out, subscribe, even if you don't want to watch it on there, subscribe anyways. I don't care.
Fucking do it. We just need numbers. We just need numbers.
Yeah, or else I think we threaten our listeners once a week at least.
Yeah. So we might as well do that again.
Or
subscribe
else.
to us, or we'll literally fucking kill you. Not even be creative about it. We'll just blatantly kill you.
Yeah, you see what I did with that spider? I just used a book.
Yeah,
I didn't go overboard on that. Just used a book.
Right. Well, the thing is, it's just like we left that in there. Craig really wanted us to leave that in there just for this exact PSA. So
yeah, I knew I was going to threaten you guys.
Right. All that being said, we're just kidding. We're not going to kill you. We just enjoy the people that show up. So thanks for doing that.
Yeah. Have you stopped listening after we threatened you? You know, that's honestly probably a good call on your part. But we were just joking.
Right.
We're just
Yeah,
joking.
right. Honestly, you should run as far away as you possibly can. All right, I'm going to blow. But, all right, we've stalled long enough. We've prevented this from beginning too long. Welcome to the podcast, Goon Squad. I hope you guys are liking your name. I hope you guys feel comfortable with it, because it's not going anywhere. That's what you're called. We would like to welcome you back to the month of January, or as I like to call it, Urban Legend Month. We hope you enjoyed the last several episodes, and the last game we played, you know, Craig was the victor, and he did not give me a topic for this particular episode, so I went ahead and found my own topic. But we'll get into more details on what he's discovered, plus what the new theme is for next month after this episode.
Facts. That's we got a whole roller coaster to get through first.
Yeah, that's right. So without further ado, how do you want to do it, Craig?
It doesn't matter to me, man. You want to go first or last or first?
I often... Okay, well, tell me on a scale of 1 to 10, how exciting is your story?
I don't think it's exciting. I also think it's going to be relatively short.
Okay.
So I think I could go first, and I think I'd be okay with that.
Mine is going to be as long as I want it to be, because mine's just an inner collection of series of stories. So I can also go anytime.
All right. Well, hey, I think I've gone last, or have I? No, I think I'll just keep. I'm going first. I think I'll just do that.
Craig's gonna go. Everyone, he's just thinks he's gonna take the reins. Go first. Very well.
All right. Have you? So I was gonna. I almost did the Alaskan Triangle, which is literally just the Bermuda Triangle, but it's Alaska instead, and it's like connecting like the only real 3 cities in Alaska.
That's hilarious.
Which honestly, pretty spooky. At one point, the House Majority Leader was lost in the Alaskan Triangle, which is just a fun fact. Maybe we'll touch on that another time. But I wanted to do something that I hadn't done a whole lot of research on before, but I knew of. I wanted to do it on the lost colony of Roanoke. Do you know of Roanoke?
Dude. Hell yeah, dude. Roanoke. This is my favorite season of American Horror Story.
Oh, is that I'm going to be real with you, man. I've only seen the first season of American Horror Story.
And it is not my favorite American Horror Story season. And honestly, the first half got me. It was amazing. And then the second half literally went to the shitter. And I had this conversation recently, actually. And it was a question of, if you could unwatch anything and get your time back for it, what would that, like, one show be? You know what I mean? And it took me, like, 4 to 12 minutes. And I decided American Horror... it was AHS Roanoke. Because I would love to have my time back from that. That really pissed me off. I hated it so much. I literally had rage at the end of the season. So anyway, but I do know all about Roanoke. Not all about it, but I know of it. So,
well,
I'm
for
excited.
you listeners, if you haven't heard of it, the most like studying I've done on it, and when I was in college, I took a course on lost societies of Kansas, because that is where we are from and where I went to college.
Hell yeah, dude!
And to really go over like ghost towns and abandoned cities, you kind of have to learn about all of them. And this isn't in Kansas by any means, but it is the very first lost civilization in what came to be known as America. So we'll just start from the top here.
Hell yeah.
In 1587, a small colony was founded on an island off the eastern coast of North America. The settlement would have been the first permanent English colony in the New World had the settlers not disappeared owing to unknown circumstances. The lost colony of Roanoke is one of the most notorious mysteries in American history. The cryptic clues left at the abandoned settlement and the lack of any concrete evidence make it the focus of wild speculation and theories. So, in the founding year of Roanoke, the mayor, John White, he basically, we're coming from England, right? So, John White goes back to England. He needed resources, supplies, manpower. He needed to bring some more people to kind of help build the civilization. They didn't have everything they needed.
Right.
Or at least they had what they needed for the first couple of years. So John White went back to England, and this is 1587. It's not something you can do quickly. I could go to England and be back tomorrow.
That's true. Because Craig's really fast.
Yeah, I am really fast. It took him 3 years to get back.
That's a long time. That's a long time.
Yeah.
So everyone's just laying there dead and shit.
Yeah, well, all right, I mean, he returned 3 years later to find the settlement empty and his wife, child, and grandchild, which, I mean, these are the first children to be born in America, essentially.
Oh, hell yeah.
They had all vanished. All of them gone. Thin air.
Oh, no.
The only thing that he found, and whoever was with him, the words Croatoan and the letters CRO were carved into trees within the colony's borders. Those are the only signs pointing to any explanation whatsoever of what happened to these people.
That's fucking scary. Because, imagine you have, this long trip, and, it's not... You have to travel some treacherous waters, you're doing your thing, and you have to leave your family, and you're scared to do that in the first place because you're on such new territory. You're, terrified, but you're like, oh, I have to get shit. And if I don't get this shit, we're all going to die. So I have to do it. I'll go do it. Be right back. 3 years later,
yeah.
come back. And you're like, honey, I'm home. And it's literally just like...
Yeah, I mean...
Just nothing.
He hasn't communicated with his family whatsoever, because if he couldn't get back in 3 years, I mean, when was a letter going to get there? The day before him? Goddamn.
Well, it depends on how hard he threw it.
Yeah, and, in all fairness, it probably didn't take him 3 years to get there and back. He probably got there, within a year, and then spent maybe a year dicking around getting stuff, and then a year coming back is how I would assume it went.
Probably.
But... I mean, to come back, you haven't spoken to your family in 3 years. You get to see them, and you're probably super stoked, I would hope at least, and they're all gone. And not just them, everybody. Because it wouldn't be crazy, if, he left for 3 years and his wife got sick and died, because that's the most common thing in the world at this point in time.
Yeah.
But everybody's gone. There's not a soul left. No one stayed back for these people. Right. No one left no one left a note. They just wrote one word in some trees.
Can you imagine that too? Someone was like, oh fuck, we all have to get out of here. There's something going on. Oh shit, that guy's out there getting our shit. Oh here, give me that fucking chisel and hammer. And it just says Croatian or some shit. And then everyone's like, what does that mean, Percy? And he's like, oh, he'll understand. He'll
knows.
Know.
John's a smart guy. He knows.
He's smart.
And then John gets back. He's like, "Are you what?"
He's like, "Croatian?
What the fuck?
What is this?
What's a Croatoan?
What's a I love croutons. But what does that have to do with
Dude, I wake up every day, I go to the gym, I'm doing creatine. I don't know what that is though. What does creatine have anything to do with?
I don't know. I mean, does that mean that they're all at the gym?
Dude, they're yoked, yeah.
So are they you said they're all disappeared, right? Was there any infrastructures? Did they have their establishment still?
So, yeah, they had a settlement kind of built.
Okay, yeah, I assumed that at least a little bit.
Yeah, so they had a parameter and borders and maybe not buildings, but at least shelter.
Right.
That way he knew this is the place.
Okay, yes.
So... But, aside from, what are you going to do with Croatoan and then the letters CRO carved into trees? So, believe it or not, despite all their hard work, they couldn't find him. They had no trace of these people whatsoever. And they popped back up, and they went back to England, basically. They just picked up and left. Now, the basis of the mysterious tree carving, the nearby Croatoan Island, now known as the Hatteras Island, is the location to which many believe the colonists moved to. At the time the colony's founding, the Hatteras Indians, and I apologize if I'm butchering that, it's either Hatteras or Hatteras, I don't know, they occupied the island, and a popular theory supposes that the colonists joined the group of Native Americans to overcome their lack of resources and knowledge of the land. Because, yeah, I mean, we're brand new. We don't know shit.
Right.
So, yeah, if I get to a job and no one taught me what to do, I'm going to find the first person that knows what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to follow that guy. Which, I mean, is the basis of, like, even what Thanksgiving is, right? We don't know shit. They taught us how to survive and then backstab them afterwards. But
yeah. And front stab them and side shoot them. A bunch of stuff.
For hundreds of years.
Yeah. Some say till this day. But
so basically this was like a best case scenario of that, where they didn't kill them and were just like, hey, these guys are nice and they taught us what to do. Because, I mean, the Native Americans could have, they could have just killed them, took all the shit. That could have been eeasy.
That's
but
true.
They didn't. They must not have posed a threat or anything like that, or maybe they reached out even. But, so, like, there's a piece of evidence for this claim. They say the existence of the carvings in the stones that were made by Eleanor Dare, who is the daughter of John White. There's stones called the Dare Stones. They contain written stories that tell the fates of the colonists, and there's like personal anecdotes from Dare to her father.
Is it also like Dare to resist drugs? Like, was there like a campaign on that there too? Or
yeah, I think that's probably she must have married the original Mr. Dare. Yeah, Mr.
Dare himself. Okay, cool. Just making sure.
These people, like, over time, we found these stones that have these stories and these anecdotes of Dare reaching out to her father and saying, "Oh, here's what happened to this person," and "Oh, we're going through this right now," basically in hopes that he follows this trail and eventually finds them and they can all go back to their lives, right? But most people believe that they're a hoax and forged writings, but like there's some belief that one of them might be real, and then that the rest of them, like, someone just like, oh, well, let's finish this story or whatever. So, but since 1998, the Croatoan Project has researched and provided archaeological evidence to back up the theory that the colonists moved to be with, or at least interacted with, the Hatteras tribe. Artifacts and objects found within Croatoan villages that only English settlers had owned or had made at the time have been solidified within there. So, just assuming that the two groups at some point meshed together. But despite the evidence, there's no definitive answer of like to what happened to these people, because I mean they didn't write it down, they didn't say shit. They didn't tell anybody,
they didn't document. I mean, that's history 101. If you know you're in old ass times, you write shit down. Rookies.
Yeah, exactly. But that's all I got legitimately on them.
Oh, wow.
It's just a quick rundown of the story. I remember like the first time I ever heard this, and I was just like, holy fuck. Like, because at this point I don't think we had found any artifacts or anything, so I was like, holy shit, like, they're just gone. Because then you're like, is it aliens?
It's probably, I mean, I still subscribe to that idea, but
dude, I mean, I guarantee that's an episode of Ancient Aliens.
Oh, I'm sure it is. I mean,
I've never seen a second of that show, but I guarantee that's an episode.
There's probably a whole season dedicated to it. This is some spooky dooky shit. Like you could say, oh, they just wanted to survive and they wanted to go to some people that knew how to survive and they lived with them. No, I don't think so. It was either an alien or there was like that one time traveler I covered before. He came back and like brought them to the future, or told, there was something shenanigan like that.
Yeah. Well, and like, I mean, obviously, the nice thing would be that they went and hung out with them and they lived happily ever after. Right. But just because you found some shit at their, like, where their village was, doesn't mean they didn't kill them and take it, or,
yeah, no.
Like, I mean, because, they didn't know. They don't know. I mean, let's be honest, their first thought could have been, these people are here to hurt us, and they probably would have been right.
Probably would have been right, yeah.
They probably could have assumed that.
Safe bet.
And they were just like, let's knock this out beforehand, before we even, let's just get these hands right now and wipe them all out. You kind of have to assume that John White probably took a lot of the men with him to go and get supplies and resources and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, I mean, in the village, you keep a couple of men, but women can go and forage for berries. I mean...
Yeah, berry pickers... Get them. Wood gatherers.
Yeah. Peck hunting, get a couple men to hunt, bunch of women to gather, and have babies.
Yep.
So, it's not, I mean, I don't think it's crazy to think that they were either, like, murdered, or, I mean, I also just don't assume that they were, like, all that far from the coast, just because, like, I mean, how far do you really want to venture in?
Yeah, true.
And, I mean, what does the East Coast famously get when you're next to an ocean? You get hurricanes.
Herpes.
They could have been wiped out by a hurricane. And also, Jersey, you get herpes. That is actually a fact.
Okay.
Yeah, and Atlantic City. But, like, maybe they got wiped out by hurricanes, or, like, maybe, like, one hit and they got sick and they died. And then the Native Americans showed up and took their shit. Because they're like, hey, there's a bunch of shit here. Can we have this shit?
Not just that, like some dead people, and we're just going to take that skin and bone and make some shit out of that.
Well, yeah, honestly, I mean, it's not crazy. They'd never seen these people or interacted with these people before, so...
Of course.
Maybe I'm just programmed to think the worst, but...
I think I'm programmed, maybe not to think the worst, but to think outside the box, because that's what the government wants you to think. They're like, yeah, we found these artifacts, we found this... They were just with these people.
Yeah, no. White people love to assume the best case scenario for themselves. So they're like, oh yeah, why would the Native Americans want to kill us? They wouldn't. Yeah. They wouldn't kill us.
They wouldn't do that.
Yeah. No. We're friends.
We've always been best friends. History describes it so. That's why when you're a kid, you are told that. Like, you see, like, little cartoons in class, like your second grade class. It's just, like, how the Pilgrims and the Indians were best friends for life. And, like, they taught each other everything. And then they learned from each other. And then they were just best friends. And then in high school, you see the sad truth, the reality of the videos. And, it all comes out.
Yeah, you see fucking stacks of buffalo as tall as building killed for sport. And you're like, oh, my God.
And you're like, oh, that's just one little thing that... that they used to oppress the Native Americans. It's a whole thing.
But white people don't like to look at that part.
It's because we're born winners. We can't take loss.
Yeah, it's like I'm trying to think of. It's like, oh man, I was gonna go like think of a white person who had recently lost something and then denied the loss, and then I was like, oh man, that's Trump. I don't want to talk about Trump.
Yeah, it's definitely Trump. Yeah.
We'll
leave it like that.
One that comes to mind.
Right.
Yeah, we'll just leave it there. Trump is that guy. Would you not condone
politics?
Acting like a baby.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because at one point it's not even politics. It's childlike behavior. Anyway,
we'll crybaby bitch boy.
Oh shit! Oh, I gotta cut that out, Craig. What are you doing? Wait, he's not our president. I can say whatever we want.
I know, he can't even fucking tweet at you anymore, dude. It's crazy. But that's like I said, I took a whole class, and the class was extremely up its own ass. Because why wouldn't it be? I actually got to do my research paper on the town I live in, because it's basically a ghost town. So that was tremendous. and yeah, like, I mean, it was a terrible class. My grades were never logged into, like, my university's website or emailed or anything, because my teacher didn't trust the internet. And
that sounds about right.
Her, I'm not going to dox her, but her first name and her married last name were the same. Yeah, but that class was the worst, but I learned some good tidbits, and there was some interesting stuff in there. And yeah, Roanoke popped in my head this week, and I was like, I want to talk about Roanoke for a second.
There you go. Well, hell yeah. You know, that could have gone into our next month's topic if you're going to do the one that I think you're going to do.
Say what?
That could have gone into next month's topic if you're going to do the one that we discussed.
That's true, and I am. But
okay.
I figured it's a good bridge into from one to the other. I wanted to merge.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then maybe I should have gone first, because mine is not anywhere close to that. But I can try. But very nice. Yeah, Roanoke, that's a very big mystery still. It's really cool to hear about. It's always the cool ones. I don't know. Like, whenever something is unexplainable, or when something disappears, like something big and established or stuff like that, that's always like a fun little mystery. I like that. So, it's a good song and dance.
Yeah, I love when people disappear.
Yeah, super cool. Okay, well then let's take a lateral step. Not gonna go back, not gonna go forward. But mine is different from yours by a good margin. That's
I love it.
Have you ever heard of the Black-Eyed Kids?
Say that again.
The Black-Eyed Kids.
The Black-Eyed Kid.
Yeah, kids, plural.
I have not.
Oh, this is a fun one for you. So this is, and this goes to show that this particular urban legend isn't the most widespread. It's pretty large. It's pretty at large, but it's not super crazy. I also am, I was talking about M. Schultz earlier from And That's Why We Drink. She covered this topic, so I figured I'd pay her back and take one of her topics, take one of their topics. But it's so hard. I'm trying. I really am trying. I don't want it to come off. I'm literally going to cut out. I'm going to make it snippy and cut out the pieces, and I'm going to try to put it together so I'm not an ignorant fuck. Okay, here we go. So, the Black-Eyed Kids. This is a excerpt on TBS News written by, I don't see an author, so I'm going to take it verbatim just so that way we can be on the same page. And then what I'm going to do is tell you stories that people have encountered these entities. So it's all real life. None of it's made up. So prepare yourself. And yeah. I'll also say that this particular entity or urban legend does strike fear into my core. It's genuinely does. And I'll tell you why a little bit later. But let's begin. So the excerpt states, they might knock on your door on a late wintry night. You may see them approaching your car while you are waiting at the signal or a gas station. It might seem like they need help, or they might just stand there still for no reason. These children do not look threatening. They would want to get in your house or in your car. They will be persistent. Suddenly, you will notice something is not right about these children. Their eyes are pure black from lid to lid. Dead black orbs devoid of sclera or iris will chill up your spine. You have finally come across the Black-Eyed Children. Black-Eyed Children, or Black-Eyed Kids, is an urban legend of paranormal creatures that resemble children between the ages of 6 and 16. These creatures with pale skin and black eyes have reportedly been seen hitchhiking, panhandling, or at the doorsteps of residential homes. A dozen of stories keep circulating, all following a very similar pattern. Kids with eyes completely blacked out appear at people's homes or vehicles or knock at the door and then insist upon getting inside. Anyone who encountered them has almost immediately felt an overwhelming sense of dread. And this isn't in the post, but they say like you're supposed to get sick following a visit from these entities, often cancer. So I think a few stories will later describe that too. So besides blacked out eyes, these children typically appear normal. Sometimes their attire seems outdated. Hold on, I'm hearing like knocking, and that really scared the fuck out of me.
You're fucking dead meat, dude.
I was like, no, please. And I'm going to get to that in a second, because later they say that if you know about them, they're supposed to appear more, but that's what every urban legend says, so I'm like scared. You're knocking, bro.
Dude, I can't wait for you to get murdered in the middle of this podcast, and then we only have my audio, and then I have to use that as evidence or something.
No, dude, you come and find it. You come and find my audio. I want this to go on. So if you hear me say hello, and then it just cuts, just understand it, okay?
Okay, I'll probably wait a couple days to go to your house and get that, but
yeah, let it clear out, because you know what?
Yeah.
Sick bastards. Anyway,
I'll find your roommate on Facebook or something and say, hey, go check on Andrew for me.
I'm not even home though. I'm at my girlfriend's abode.
I'll message Ren and say, hey, can you go check on Andrew for me?
Yeah, there you go. That's better. So, in extremely unusual instances, people have reported encountering creatures with talon-like feet. No one knows where or how these creatures pop up. Conspiracy theorists believe that black-eyed children are aliens trying to reach out to their Earth. Demonologists believe they are children of the devil himself, and if you let them in, you are allowing the devil to enter your life. They want to enter your home to call their parents. However, upon making eye contact, it seems like there is a much sinister plot to the story. Some people claim that these children have existed since the 1980s. However, most sources say that the legend originated in 1996 in posts written by a Texas reporter named Brian Bethel, where he wrote about the two alleged encounters with the black-eyed children. He said that he encountered two children in Abilene, Texas, with pale skin and black eyes. In 2012, Bethel retold the story on the TV show Monsters and Mysteries in America. He then wrote an article for the Abilene Reporter News where he described his experience again. One of the stories goes like this. In a snowy town within the middle of nowhere in Vermont, an elderly couple heard the sound of 3 loud knocks on the door, which is why I was super scared a second ago. They opened the door and saw 2 children, a boy and a girl. Parents will be here soon. May we come in? The children did not make eye contact and just stood there in the doorway. The elderly couple were hesitant, but after a while they let the boy and girl inside. These kids settled on the couch while the wife made some hot cocoa, and the husband asked them questions that went unanswered. The wife returned and noticed that her cat was scared and angry with the children. May we please use the restroom? Said the children. The wife looked at the kids and finally saw them. The children's eyes were black. She directed them to the bathroom and returned to her husband, who was covering his face with his hand. Did you see their eyes? The husband then showed her his hands full of blood from a nosebleed. The power suddenly went out, and the house turned as dark as the kids' eyes. The wife headed to the restroom and was confronted by the voice of the kids at the end of the hall uttering, "Our parents are here." The kids then excited to leave. I'm sorry, I'm stuttering. The kids then excited Fuck me, it's not excited, it's exited. Fuck. The kids then exited the house, leaving the door wide open. The wife then noticed that there were 2 men at the end of the driveway. The men were very tall and slender. The wife waved but did not receive the same friendly gesture. The 2 men and children then drove away in one car. The power then came back on, and a little later after the kids left. Throughout the next week, weird things kept happening in the house. 3 out of the 4 cats went missing, and the 4th had been found dead in a pool of its own blood. The husband continued to have nosebleeds and finally went to the doctor, where he was diagnosed with a very aggressive skin cancer. This legend even crossed bodies of water and landed in the great land of UK, where in 2014 the Daily Star wrote 3 front-page stories about sightings of the black-eyed children in the haunted pub of Staffordshire. Ghost hunters who believed that the black-eyed children were extraterrestrials, vampires, or ghosts took these alleged sightings very seriously. Nowadays, people still claim to see the black-eyed children when driving late at night down an empty road, or outside their window late at night, or even lurking in the shadows of the room. Many people have reported seeing black-eyed children standing in the corner of the room during their episodes of sleep paralysis, or even waking up in the middle of the night because they sensed someone was watching them. And in the shadows were these children. And that's the story of black-eyed kids, and that's like what they are.
Man, have you ever, I've never personally experienced sleep paralysis, but have you ever experienced that before?
Okay, so let me tell you a quick story, because, this is Stories with the Boys.
That's our show.
That's the show. Yeah, we're doing it.
That's the show.
Here's the thing about talking about sleep paralysis. This one I can confirm that the more you talk about it, the more you think about it, the more you commit it to your brain, the more likely it's going to happen. And I have proof. Because, so I guess skip this if you don't want to, talk about it. But I will say that
How do I skip it?
Shut up. You're going to have to deal with it. I got really into the idea of sleep paralysis because my brother always told me a story about one time where he, woke up and there were no visions or anything like that, but he legitimately couldn't fucking move. And he was always freaked out. And I remember him telling me about that. And then I always heard like podcasts telling me about it and like stuff like that. So I got into it. So I like looked into it, and there's a lot of scary things, right? Like when you are paralyzed, sometimes you're still in the dream state a little bit. And so you see entities or you see weird things. And I'll say that, or sometimes people think it's like literal demons and shit that are messing with you. Whatever. When I was looking into it, one night I was sleeping in my bedroom as normal. Everything was normal as can be. And I remember coming to, like waking up. I didn't get to check the clock, but I remember, because I sleep on my side, but I remember like laying there and I heard no cap, bro. I heard like talking. Like it was just normal conversation. I had no idea what they were saying. I just remember conversations being had in like kind of whispery tones and all this stuff. It was in the room. And I remember my eyes were closed, but I also remember not being able to fucking move. Like I could not turn or do anything like that. It scared the ever living Christ out of me. And I just remember hearing the voices, and then I started to I willpowered myself enough to like twitch my neck or something like that. And right when I like moved like a tiny bit, I was able to like fully move. And so I sat up and like I came to essentially. And like the whispers or whatever, the voices were gone. And I was like, man, fuck that. Really scary. So yes, I kind of have.
Do you sleep with a TV on or any noise?
I usually do. However, this particular night, actually, this is in like a home that I had where I didn't really often sleep with a TV on per se. I did sleep with a nightlight though that night, like a Cincy.
I think every time someone tells me a story about like experiencing sleep paralysis, I'm like, they're generally like, oh yeah, I don't sleep with a TV or like any noise at all, because like I like have to sleep with a TV. I was conditioned, from I've always had a television on, and
same, honestly, same.
I think the bright light probably helps prevent that from happening.
Yeah.
Because, everyone will be like, oh, yeah, I was just sleeping in the fucking dark like a crazy person, and I couldn't move. And I was like, holy shit, that sucks.
Yeah. I agree. I hate that shit. Like, sleeping in pitch black with no noise is a fucking nightmare. I don't know who can possibly manage that. Like, I usually sleep with the TV on. It's often been rain noises. I do rain noises a lot. But otherwise, it's been, like, reruns of Bob's Burgers. Just shit like that. And my logic is always, like, if I want to hear voices, I want to be able to justify that the voices are fucking Bob from Bob's Burgers.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I wake up and it's just Cody Co making fun of fucking the lead singer of Sugar Ray, and I'm like, ha.
Oh yeah, some say the greatest band of all time.
I think some people do say that. Agreed, yeah.
But
no, yeah. So that fucking those. So if I in my brain I'm picturing like the kid from The Ring.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like about what?
So they're supposed to look like pasty white children, and they're supposed to have like a little bit of outdated clothes, because the idea behind that, I think, is that like the whole alien thing is that they're aliens try to fit in, but they don't know modern times. They're not keeping up with it. Obviously, they don't. They're not from here, and so like they get stuff that they think it is normal, but it's a little dated. So that's like not just in Black Eyed Kids, but that's just any alien story. If they're trying to quote unquote fit in, it's always like a little bit older stuff or just something weird like that.
Yeah, well, it's like if you watch a TV show where they're like transmitting satellite waves or something, but it's like television from the 1970s, so maybe they're wearing like older clothes because they think that's what we wear, like still kind of stuff.
Right, exactly, yeah. Like that's their only form of media that would portray us, so it's like a little off. Yeah. So Basically. So they're supposed to have like a little bit of dated clothes. Otherwise, they just look like normal kids, but they're always looking down and shit. And they're saying weird ass fucking expressions that like sometimes don't make a lot of whole sense. And if you like, then they'll eventually look up and then you'll see their lifeless black eyes and you're just like, ay, Dios mío.
Yeah, that's fucking... That's like my worst fear. It's probably not, I'm exaggerating, but is like waking up and just like... just seeing a person that's not my wife in my bedroom. Or
that would be atrocious.
Yeah, like, that's just the worst thing that could happen, I think. Where I'd look, like, and you just be like, oh, you're not supposed to be here. Get the fuck out of here. And then they just probably won't, I would imagine.
Right.
And then they give you cancer, dude? Like, oh,
yeah, that's bullshit.
Like,
well, I think it'd be even, like, in a way, I feel like it'd be worse if it's a child. Well, it depends on how you look at it. Because, like, 9 out of 10 times, if you wake up and there's a stranger in your room, it is not a good circumstance, regardless. Like, you're talking robbery, some sort of murder, some sort of, just like not pedophile, but like, pervert kind of person, or, like, there's a bunch of problems. The one time that it could be okay is if it's like a friend messing with you, and then you're like, whew, nothing. But, if it's a child, then there's like really no justification, and it's probably fucked up, and yeah, none of that. Dude,
like, I think I'd be less frightened if it was a child. Because if it's a man, a grown-ass man, I'm like, you could hurt me. Like, I don't know how strong you are. I don't know what you have. I don't know if you have a weapon or a knife. Like, I don't know what you have. If it's a child, okay, I can fend off a child, I
guess that's true. I guess that's fair.
Random, like, thing, though, a mutual friend of ours, who I went to college with, he used to always leave his house unlocked like a fucking idiot. And so, like, there's one time where I moved into a new apartment and my fridge wasn't working, so I had to store some stuff in his freezer. And I was like, hey, when are you going to be home so I can come drop this stuff off? And he's like, oh, dude, no one's there right now, but it's unlocked. You can go ahead and go in. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why would you do that? So I went in and dropped it off. He told me, like, a few years later that he, like, got off work and, like, he worked at a lawn care place, and all of him and, like, his roommates all worked there, and so they all went and got drinks except for him, and he, like, stayed back because he was so tired. It was a long day and he had class and stuff. And so he stayed back and took a nap, and he wakes up, and there's just a guy standing over him.
Yeah.
And he was like, get the fuck out.
Yeah, who are you?
Yeah, and the guy just left. Like, he just walked away. And I was like, that's fucking, like, he could have killed you. Like,
lock your fucking doors, bro. Like, that's the announcement of this episode. That's the takeaway. Lock your doors every chance you get. Play it safe always. Like, it's most likely you're fine. But play that shit safe. No reason to risk it.
Yeah, and like, another side of that, there was a kid who went to the same college, not a friend or anything. I didn't know him, but he got home drunk from the bars, and he walks into his house and he gets shot and killed because guess what? He didn't walk into his house. He lived next door, so he was drunk, walked into this dude's house, and the guy was like, I am gonna kill you. And then he killed him, and it was fucking crazy.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, and you can't, like, you could be like, hey, why is your hair, like, such a hair trigger, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I was also like, that's your home, and, like, you have to fend for yourself. Fend for number one back home.
I think he ended up being kind of a druggie, so he was like, if someone walks in my house, I'm gonna kill him, because I've got stuff here that I'm not supposed to have. But, like, I just looked at that, and I'm like, with my friend, I was like, dude, you could have been killed. And, like, on the inverse, like, you could have killed that guy. Like, that could have been something crazy. Like, that could have been absolutely devastating. Yeah, I shit my pants. I was like, this is fucking crazy. And, but, yeah, like, I think it would be more at ease, even though I don't like children, I'd be more at ease if I saw a child at the foot of my bed than a grown-ass man or something.
I guess that makes sense. Yeah, I could agree to that. Unless these were black-eyed children, and it was a fucking either demon, alien, or otherwise supernatural being.
Yeah, and I for sure don't want skin cancer.
Well, I mean, that was just one example. I'm going to read some more here. Hopefully, you'll get more fear strucken into you. But some of them are pretty long. Obviously, they're just like, these are like legit accounts, you know, like people legitimately put these to paper because they believe this would happen. And I've heard some stories about this a while ago, so I might partake in that. But I'll say a few because we're already kind of getting to an hour, believe it or not. But I'll say one or two. So this one's called Midnight Color. It almost felt like a dream. I woke up to my dog, Lucy, barking. She was upright on the bed where my husband and I were sleeping with our 22-month-old daughter, staring at our door like an unknown stranger was out there rummaging around. I thought she was just freaking out over the house noise. We had only had her for 3 months and she was still a puppy. It could have been anything. Our roommate, a creak from the house settling, the awnings moving outside with the breeze. I wasn't too concerned initially. I decided the best bet would be to open the door and show her there was nothing there. It sounds a bit silly, but it's what we do with our daughter when she gets scared, and I figure it would work with the puppy too. I opened the door and she raced to the front of the door. She stood there, snarling at the door. It was an angry, violent growl, one I had never heard her make before. I looked groggily at her and opened the baby gate blocking the doorway, planning to open the door and show her that everything was okay. The second my hand reached for the door, the deadbolt, Lucy went wild. She started barking and jumping toward me, and when I touched the metal, she suddenly changed her temper. She whimpered, almost like she was afraid and backing down. As her mannerisms changed, so did mine. I wasn't calm anymore. My heart was racing and sinking at the same time. I had been flooded with a mixture of fear and dread. I looked through the peephole. I can't explain why I looked, but I did. Outside were 2 kids. One was just a smidgen shorter than me, and didn't look much younger. I'm 21, and she looked to be about 16 or 17. She was slender and pale. Her hair was this light shade of honey blonde, and she wore it long, about mid-back, with long, thin, blunt bangs in front of it that covered most of her eyes. She wore jeans, a light wash that's popular right now, and a thin-looking olive-colored pullover-style hoodie. She held the hand of a small girl who looked to be about 3 or 4, in the same style of jeans and button-down ivory cardigan. The smaller one looked at the floor shyly, but had the same shade of hair tied back in a ponytail. She held a stuffed toy under her free arm, and it was identical to the one my daughter has, as was their style of dress. Had it not been for the feeling of overwhelming dread and fear, I probably would have asked these children in and given them some tea or hot cocoa to get them out of the bitter cold. Something about them seemed off. At this point, I hadn't made any noise. I hadn't shushed the dog or grumbled. Nothing. I hadn't turned on any lights. These kids had no indicators that I was at the door. The older one spoke. She had a voice that was mature, confident, strong, and accentless. She held her head tilted downward, and I couldn't see her eyes, but she said, "We have to use your phone." I stood frozen in fear. How did she know I was there? She raised her head to face me directly, and that's when I saw her eyes. There was a reason I couldn't see them through her bangs before. They were black, or midnight blue, or dark purple. They were otherworldly. She said, "Our mother is worried." As someone who has always been interested in creepy stories, I knew what she was the second she looked at me through the door. I have never been one to believe in these things. As a staunch atheist and skeptic when it comes to the paranormal, I had written off many a ghost story from friends and family members eager to tell me their tale. I didn't believe it. Still, I couldn't rationalize my way out of this. I was standing with nothing but a thin wooden door between me and the black-eyed kid. There was no questioning what was right in front of me. I did not answer her. Slowly and silently, I backed away from the door. Lucy is still cowering at my ankles. She kept talking. "Just let us use your phone." I took another step back, and with that step, the tone changed. At first, she seemed polite, and then I took a second step back, she became commanding, almost hostile. "We're not going to hurt you. If we wanted to do that, we would have broken in. I'll ask again. May we come in and use your phone?" Lucy snarled at the door, and I inched backward, though something inside me seemed to be slowly pulling me back towards the door. It wasn't a physical pulling so much as a subconscious need to go back and let them in. I got to my room, covered up the windows, locked the door, and sat in there with the dim light of the nightlight. I heard her call me back to the door one more time, and then quiet. I didn't go back to sleep that night, and I haven't been able to sleep right since. I know from reading about the BEKs, can't just come in without permission. I know they haven't hurt anyone, but I still fear I'll be the exception. When I told my husband, he said it was just a dream. He keeps telling me to forget it. But this lingering feeling of sadness and dread when the house is silent at night, this fear of the knock at the door, this tells me otherwise. That's the story.
Man.
Spooky.
That's heavy as fuck, dude.
Yeah, it's scary as shit.
Yeah, that makes my fucking brain hurt.
Yeah, same. Because you're just like, if she didn't know of the, BEK, the whole urban legends, I bet she'd probably just be like, oh, these children need to come inside.
Yeah, I mean, I might be a piece of shit. But if a child like is banging on my door at like 3 a.m, sorry, chief. I'm probably just gonna call the police.
Yeah, I'll be like, you guys wait right there. I'm gonna hit you up with the 911. Don't you worry. Honestly, Sam.
I'm just gonna say, hey, someone's knocking on my door, and you should get them the fuck out of here. And then that's gonna be the end of that shit.
Honestly, I mean, I'm pretty paranoid as it is, and so I always assume the absolute worst. So, same. Honestly, I'd be like, I mean, that's what I would do. So
yeah, that's why I pay these 911 fees on my phone bill. I'm trying to use that shit, bro.
That's right. So that shit, I mean, yeah. I mean, it's always interesting to hear someone, and this could, very well be just a story. But, it's pretty specific, and she literally had their clothes down to a T, stuff like that. And this girl is writing this is like saying that she's like an atheist, doesn't believe in all this, a skeptic at heart, stuff like that. That always draws me in a little bit, which I guess might be the point, but it's just like very spooky.
Yeah, and I mean, even if it was a dream, like it's a very, I mean, it obviously like stuck out with that person quite a bit, because like maybe her husband, maybe he was just like, maybe she was sleeping and he was just like, yeah, dude, you're insane. None of that happened or whatever.
Right.
But like, man, that's a heavy dream. Like, I don't dream a lot, or I mean, I'm sure I dream, but I don't remember most of my dreams. And
right.
But I've definitely had a few that like you wake up and you're like, I am not okay. Like that was not good.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Just sketchy. Now, I'm gonna read 10 facts about the Black Eyed Kids, just really quick. And then I will let you decide if I should cover one more story about it, because it's already we're breaching here. But here's the 10 facts. I'm going to list it in bullet fashion. Black-eyed kids will look like normal human children between the ages of...
Hold on one second.
Of course.
Can you do it as a top 10 as David Letterman would have done it?
Describe how that sounds.
No, it's like he would do these lists like weekly, where it would be like the top 10 things New Yorkers hate about the Mets, and it would just be random jokes.
No,
like number 10. Yeah, I wouldn't do it. I'm not
gonna do that. That's funny. I'm sorry, I'm uncultured. I didn't watch it.
Damn.
I could do it like a fucking YouTuber. I've seen like those top 10.
Yeah. Number 15.
Number 10. Black-eyed kids will look like normal human children between the ages of 6 and 16, but with pale skin and completely black eyes. Number 9. Additionally, people who have been in close proximity to black-eyed kids report a feeling of unease that washed over them. While nothing about these children's appearance, aside from their eyes, genuinely frightened people, they still reported feeling ranging from anxiety to terror at their presence. Number 8. Some people have also reported seeing black-eyed kids that have talons for feet or other demonic attributes, but most sightings are seemingly normal children. Number 7. Black-eyed kids are also commonly described as wearing dated clothing or dressing in a manner that is not typical of a normal child of their age. Number 6. Black-eyed children always ask for something. It always something to do with that involves being in close quarters with you. They'll ask to get a ride in your vehicle or into your home or use the phone, something like that. Number 5. I kind of almost forgot where I was. There are no reported stories of what happens when you let black-eyed kids into your vehicle or home. All stories come from people whose eerie feelings made them flee from the children. Number 4. The earliest sighting of the black-eyed kid was from a journalist, Brian Bethel, in 1996. Number 3. The story has been added to internet creepypasta lore, but to this day, Bethel insists the incident was real and happened the way he reported. Number 2. In 2014, a British paper reported the sightings of black-eyed kids around the world are rising. And number 1. Theories about the black-eyed kids are that they are vampires, aliens, or of a demonic origin. There you go.
Shout out
This
to
just
the Talon feet though. That'd be fucking insane to just wander on too.
yeah. If you see this child like, can I use your phone? And it's just like has talons, and you're just like,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
It's fucking his talons are coming out of his Air Jordans. You're like, what?
Yeah. You're like, what's up? Are those talons? He's like,
No, they're just my cool shoes. And you're like, what?
you mean these normal human feet that I have?
Yeah, nothing weird over here.
Yeah, he's just wearing like starter brand shoes because it's dated. He's like, nothing wrong here, am I right? Can I use your phone, guy? Yeah. And this one, this story, like I said, this isn't even goofy fun. This is honestly like I said, these stories genuinely frighten me because once again, it's another one of those urban legends that very well could all be made up. Like this could all be people on the internet just spreading some weird ass stories, and it could always be like that. It is interesting to hear about this guy, the Brian Bethel, who reported in 1996 the story. It is interesting about that, but that could also have been made up. But still, that seems a little bit more credible.
Yeah, I mean, anytime this shit's like in a newspaper or something,
Yeah, it's a little bit more of
for
a
sure.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, ooh, hey, woo. So now I know it's scary, genuinely scary. They're frightening stories. So I guess I should have given you a gold star at the beginning here, being like, hey, careful. Now that being said, I have one more that's just called. I haven't read this, so I don't know, but it's titled Halloween. So I can read that, and then we can call it good, or we can just call it good. What do you think?
I mean, it's the end of Urban Legends Month. Just dive in.
That's a good point.
Get that bread, bro.
All right, I'm gonna do. I'll try to read it a little faster because it's a decently length one. Here we go. It's called Halloween. This is so funny. I never heard of BEKs before my incident, so I come on here to post my story, and the first story I see is about BEK. Weird. Let me preface this by saying I'm in no means a writer, just a domestic engineer living in North Texas. Also, I don't believe in the paranormal, ghosts, demons, aliens, whatever. However, I did have an event happen to me this Halloween. I have to admit, has me scratching my head. This is my first post on Reddit. This is from Reddit. And sorry to say that I've never even heard about it until yesterday. I told my best friend about my incident, and she's an avid reader of No Sleep, and she told me that if I didn't post it, she would, so here I am. Anyway, I hope you like. So it had been a slow trick-or-treat night in our neighborhood that evening, which is pretty odd in itself. We usually have kids from different areas dropped off in hours and have a constant parade at our door. That night, I'd say we'd had no more than 8 or 10 groups of kids come by the entire night. It was about 9:30 p.m. and my husband and I were sitting in our family room watching some of those ghost shows based on supposedly actual events. Like I said, I don't believe in that stuff, but I do like a good ghost story now and then, and it's Halloween after all. We hadn't had any activity at the door for over half an hour, and it was getting late, so we decided to turn the porch light off and let our dog, Chloe, out of her crate. Chloe is an American bulldog and is very docile. We only put her in her crate because we were afraid she'd try to get out and play with all the kids, and I didn't want her to have to chase her down the street. Also, we didn't want her to scare any other kids because she would look a little intimidating to younger kids. So I turned the outside light off and let Chloe out, and she followed me back to the couch and laid at my feet. It was getting close to 10 p.m. when my husband decided he'd had enough fun for the night and was going to go upstairs, take a shower, and get ready for bed. After all, it was Thursday, and he still had to get up early the next day. My teenage son was out with his friends at a local haunted house and wasn't expected back for another hour or so. So that left me alone on the couch with Chloe. Now, just because I don't believe doesn't mean that those shows don't freak me out a bit. And being alone now watching, I'd have to say I'm kind of on the edge, as it were. It wasn't long after I heard the upstairs water of the shower turn on when there came a light. Knock, knock, knock at the front door. My initial reaction was, what the hell, really? It's almost 10, go home. But soon, an uneasy feeling came over me. Why the knock? Our doorbell glows, and in the dark without the porch light, it would be extra obvious to anyone there. I paused. I couldn't really just ignore it. Our front door has a big, beveled glass panel, and anybody right in front of the door could see in enough to see someone was watching TV in the living room. It would be pretty rude for me just to sit there and not answer it. Knock, knock, knock. Again from the door. I glanced down at Chloe, and she was gone. My gaze followed her usual path through the front door, expecting her to be on her way there as she normally does. Nothing. She wasn't there. I stood up to look around the room better to find her. Crouching by the back door like she was wanting. Oh my god, I'm butchering this fucking shit. It's like poorly written, and so like I'm trying to like decipher it on the fly. Let me try that again.
You're editing on the fly.
All right. I stood up to look around the room better and found her crouching by the back door like she was wanting out. However, she never asks to go out like that. She always comes and licks my hand or puts her head on my knee. This was totally out of character for her, and I have to say, heightened my anxiety. Chloe, crate, I said. She just turned back to look at me like, hell no, Lodi, I ain't moving. I yelled up to my husband, but if he was already in the shower, I knew there was no chance of him hearing me. Knock, knock, knock. About that time, a car drove down the street and cast just enough light on the door that I could see there were silhouettes of 2 small children through the glass. I instantly felt relief. It was just some kids, probably a couple of my neighbors on their way back home, and wanted to stop by and show me their costumes or something. I headed to the door and looked back to make sure Chloe wasn't going to follow. What a great watchdog, I thought to myself as she just sat there. I turned on the porch light, and when I got to the door, and sure enough, I could see through the glass, and it was a couple of pretty small kids. A little late for such young ones, I thought, and I began to wonder about what kinds of parents would let their kids run the streets this late at night. I only opened the door enough to where I could block Chloe's escape if she decided to grow some balls, which was only about 2 feet. What struck me immediately as odd was that these kids weren't wearing any costumes. They were in normal street clothes, also no customary trick-or-treat either. I began to feel very uneasy again. It was a boy and a girl. The girl to my left was older, I'd say about 11 or 12. I could tell that she was blonde, but I couldn't make out any distinct features as our lights are from high above and on columns at the front of the porch, so most of this light was coming from behind them. I had not opened the door wide enough for any light from the inside to hit them directly. The boy was younger, about a foot shorter, I'd say 8 or 9, and looked to have light brown hair. The girl very politely spoke up. Ma'am, can we please come inside and use your phone to call our mom? As she spoke, something in the pit of my stomach was telling me something was wrong. What kid even at that age doesn't have a cell phone of their own these days? I couldn't remember the last time I'd had anybody ask me to use my home phone. Hun, don't you have a phone of your own that you can call your mom on? I asked. I'm assuming this is where things got really weird. Both kids turned to look at one another like they were going to say something to one another, but neither of them spoke. They both turned their heads back to me, and the girl said, Ma'am, my cell phone battery doesn't have a charge left in it. Can we please come inside and call our mother? We're alone out here, and my brother is scared. I have to admit there were 2 competing feelings going on inside me. The first, that of a mother's heart that wanted to help these 2 small children get to their mom. The other, I wanted to drop kick these pieces of shit across the fucking alleyway. Nah, that's not what it says. The other, no, it says the other, a sinking fear in my gut that was keeping the other feeling at bay. It was then I noticed that during the short conversation I had already opened the door a few extra inches, which I was completely unaware of doing. I stopped. Honey, why don't you give me your mother's number and I can call her myself? Another pause and they looked at each other again. After a short moment, they turned their head back to me and the girl said, Ma'am, my little brother has to use your bathroom. Can we please come inside while you call our mom? And with that, the last statement, the little girl moved closer toward the door like she was going to just walk on by me. As she did, she stepped into the light coming from inside the house, and I got my first real look at her. Solid, jet, black eyes. That's all I could see. The motherly instinct was gone and replaced by terror. I don't think I've ever felt that in my entire life. I could feel the hair of my arms and back of my neck standing at attention. I closed the door to where just my face was able to stick out. The little girl stopped and again pleaded, Please, ma'am, we're really scared out here alone. We have to come inside. Please help us. Then, like on cue, both kids began to whimper and cry. That's when the fear took over and I shut the door and locked it. I'll call your mom if you give me the number, I shouted through the door, but I'm not letting you in my house. I could see them stand there on the porch just staring at me through the beveled glass pane. Part of me wanted to run upstairs to get my husband. A bigger part didn't want me to lose track of where they were. They would have freaked me out not to know where they were. After what seemed like forever, but probably only a few seconds, I decided I'd call my neighbor that lives across the street. As I made my way to the side table by her couch, my phone, I glanced back at the door. Chloe was nowhere to be found. We later found her in the guest room under the bed. When I got to my phone and started looking for the contact info, it was only then that the kids stepped away from the door and began to walk to the street. As they did, they did, I walked to the door to get a better look at where they went. Still not calling my neighbor. If you get close enough to the glass, you can see out enough to make people's shapes. But you can see much more detail. Of course, standing that close to the door would also be pretty obvious that anyone was looking in from it. From the door, I could see that the kids were still standing under the street lamp nearest to my house, staring at me. As I lifted the phone to my ear after calling, only then did the kids start walking down the street. I met my neighbor out under the lamp once he was out there, but the kids were nowhere to be seen. Like I said, I don't believe in any of this stuff and had never even heard of the black-eyed kids before talking to my friend. What I have to think, is that these kids were just out yanking people's chains on Halloween night. But I will say this for them. They were good. Really good at it. They scared the S out of me and my dog. End story.
Damn.
Oh, yeah. So... That's
how you ended on a bang.
That's a bang. So, yeah, and this is, like I said, these stories creep me the shit out, man. I remember, I'm a paranoid person. You'll kind of get that the more you get to know me, goons. I'm a very paranoid person. I think it's clinical. So if I hear a knock, my first thought, no matter what, no matter the time of day, no matter anything, if I hear a knock at the door, my first thought is fear and anger and just want to, like, why are you doing this? So in my entire life, at my home, like growing up, I recall only one time when someone actually knocked on our door, because we live in the middle of fucking nowhere. Like, in the middle of nowhere. Someone knocked on our door, and, I was frightened. I don't think anyone was home aside from me and maybe my brother or something. And I remember I looked out the door, and it was a kid, but it was someone I think I've seen before, like, around town. And it was a, kid. I literally, like, I'm just instinctual. I grabbed a sharp pencil, and I just sat there. I grabbed my weapon of choice and just sat there and waited for him to leave. And he finally just, like, left. He didn't really knock that much. And I was like, whew. So I'm just saying, like, anytime a door knock happens, I'm out there, I'm looking out that window, I'm finding out who's out there before anything happens. Every time.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like, I grew up on a farm, so no one ever knocked on my door.
Right.
And now, currently, I also live in the middle of nowhere. And the only people who knock on my door are delivery drivers and my father-in-law. Those are the people who knock on my front door. If anyone else knocks on my front door, I'm probably not going to answer it. Gonna let you leave.
You figure that out. Yep. Couldn't agree more. So that being said, that's why I think some of this has, like, genuine fear in me, because it's just like, I don't know. The thing I wanted to say earlier was, the reason also that this strikes fear into my core was because I heard about this case, like, a while ago, like a couple years ago. And during that period of time, the way that my house worked is I got home, and it was always pitch black, like, from your car to the door, and it was only, like, 30 feet. So it's not a long walk to get from car to door, but it's pitch black. And so it's fucking terrifying. And one of the stories I remember hearing was, like, it was like, this woman was walking down the street and saw these two kids sitting on a porch thing or something like that. Their heads were buried in their hands or something. And then she had, like, this instinct to just, like, look at them and stare at them or something like that. And she was, like, really scared of it at the same time. And then eventually, like, without looking up, they were like, well, aren't you going to say hello or some shit like that? Like, it was some weird cryptic shit like that. And then so ever since I heard that particular story, like, I would play that through my head when I was trying to get from my car to my door. I'd be like, if a child's voice pops up, let alone saying, aren't you going to say hello? I will literally just vomit. I'll projectile vomit. And I will kick in my own door. I'll get it. Because it's locked, too, so I have to, like, fondle with that shit to try to get inside. Oh, man. That's probably one of my bigger fears. And that's not even, like, a life-threatening situation, but it's so fucking scary to me. I'm like, no. I'm not going to say hello. Fuck you.
No, we're not talking. I know how embarrassing for those kids if you just don't even react. You're just like, nope, I'm just going inside. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just going inside. AirPods, bro. I got AirPods on, bro. I don't know what you're
yeah, sorry, I can't hear you. I just came from a jog.
So anyway, this is true fear stuff going on. Take these stories with a grain of salt. Most likely not true. But, I wouldn't test the waters. Just kind of do your thing.
No, yeah, that's. I mean, I think I've let it be known that I'm a skeptic to a lot of stuff, but there are some. elements about stuff that if people are trying to knock on my door, we're good, bro. We're good. That's why the strangers freak me out. That's why that freaks me out. Because sometimes people, knock on your door and they need you, but they almost don't. They just never do, actually.
Right.
So I'm not going to answer. I'm sorry. So if you're ever in my neighborhood and you,
fuck me.
If you're ever in my neighborhood and you need absolute help, my neighbor is in the Army. You'll be fine with him.
He'll help you out, or she'll.
Yeah, for sure. In that vein, I mean, I'll just go ahead and unveil the next topic.
I have one more thing to say.
Oh, you got one more thing to say. Never mind. We're rolling still.
Sorry, one more thing. I had COVID or something. In the same vein of what you were saying, there's been one time in my life where I was in high school and I was driving and my car just shut off, and it was pitch black at night. I don't know what I was doing, but it was just dark, and it was just like a horror movie. My phone was literally dead, and I was like, oh no. So you could tell that fear was just running through my veins. This is like in the middle of fucking nowhere. And so I did recognize the area, and I knew where my friend's grandparents' house was, and it wasn't too far off, but it was also, it was so crazy, like a really windy, weird driveway. It was like a whole situation. And I fucking remember, like, I got my car off the side of the road. I fucking started sprinting. I didn't know what else to do, so I just started sprinting towards where I thought the house was. And, like, I made my way down the driveway and everything like that. It didn't take too long, but I just remember hearing, like, all these, animals around, snarls and beasts. I was so fucking scared. Then I got to the doorway, and I was just a child, I'm a high school kid, I guess. I think it was, like, freshman or sophomore or something. And I fucking knock on their door, and I felt like, oh no, they're just gonna, like, I would be scared if I were them, and so, I don't know. But they were so nice. They answered, and, just old people, they just answered, and they recognized me, and of course, I was like, can I use your phone? I literally was a black-eyed kid for a sec.
Well,
but I was like,
old people, if old people, like, worst case scenario, knock at the door to the Grim Reaper, oh well.
Yeah, they're like, fuck it. Yeah, exactly. But
so
anyway,
you were definitely the best case scenario for sure.
That's true. I probably heightened their experience. Yeah. But this is a little side story. But anyway, we were definitely well over time. So Craig, why don't you lay on to us what's going on?
Okay, so it is February. It is my month to choose what we're covering. And I have decided that the topic will just be history in general. It doesn't have to be American history. It doesn't have to be world history. It doesn't have to be a war. It doesn't have to be anything specific, as long as it is a story of fact. Is really the only parameter that I'm going to set. You can tell the story of a certain historical figure, or we can tell the story of something just crazy, right? Something crazy that happened in history. Or if you feel like going down the war rabbit hole, or anything like that, obviously feel free to do that as well. Or we can just play the musical Hamilton on the podcast and see what happens.
We could just do that. We'd probably get copyright strikes, but that's okay.
Yeah, it'll be fine. But yeah, so we're doing history, and how do you feel? You feel good about that?
Well, that's cool. History was never my strong topic, but I'm sure there are stories in history that are going to be very, very interesting, and it'll be good to get out of my comfort zone, because you already know I'm about that spooky shit, so I'll probably try to find something spooky in history, but maybe I'll try to step out, do something different. But this is a cool topic because this whole month has been urban legends, right? Which is most likely not true. Like, all these stories are very like, you know what I mean? But if we're doing history, like, all this shit's like proven ass, true, real life shit. So, it's kind of cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you find something spooky that's like straight up, that's always fun.
That's what I might look for, but I won't dig too deep. So, I don't know. We'll find out. I'll try.
other than that, we're gonna do our research. We're gonna get going. I think I'm gonna. I might pick Andrew's topic for next week. I haven't decided yet, so I guess we'll just let you know at the start of next episode. So, other than that, do we have anything else? Is there anything you want to say or?
Well, I'm watching the Chiefs and Bills game right now, and just in, Josh Allen got sacked fairly, and then one of the linemen came up and obliterated the person that sacked him, like after the play was called, and there was just a bunch of because Josh Allen threw the football at the sacker's head. It was a whole thing. There was a big kerfuffle. It was pretty interesting to watch. So, Chiefs are up 38-21 in case you're curious.
I love it. It's over. Call it.
There's 3 minutes left. We'll see what happens, but fun. We're big football people here, you know. We're sports guys.
Yeah, big sports guys.
Big sports guys.
Hopefully next week our hometown Kansas City Chiefs will be going to their second consecutive Super Bowl.
Hell fucking at it.
Looking to beat Tom Brady for the second straight season, so that'll be fun. In the meantime, subscribe to our new YouTube channel. If we remember, I'll send that link to Andrew so we can put it in the description. And then follow us on Twitter at stories_boys, where you can interact with us on Twitter. I'm trying to be better about posting. I think that's something I'm trying to really focus on. And so follow us there, or else it's the law. And you can find our individual Twitters in the bio of that Twitter. So then you can follow all 3 accounts, in which you will basically just find out that I only talk about basketball on Twitter. So we'll see how that goes.
Right. Well, yeah. No, yeah. Craig's kind of like the guy for this. I'm not particularly the guy for this, so I'll try to step up my game if I need to. And also, the next story for Stories with the Boys, like our written part, it's in the works. I'm going to get that going here real quick. I know it's a delay, but there's just a lot going on and a bunch of different stuff. So I'm going to get the next story up here soon.
Yeah, we're busy. Lay off, you.
Lay off is all right.
And then also the YouTube, like the video will probably, it'll probably be like a day delay, or like maybe like half of a day delay on like when the video is uploaded versus when to YouTube versus when it's like on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and stuff. So there'll probably be a little bit of delay on that. So the fun thing is, if you subscribe on YouTube, you can hit the little bell. You see what I'm doing here? Just throwing a little plug. And then it tells you when we post a new video. And that is super helpful for everybody.
Yeah. Well, cool. No, that's super cool. Just get involved with us as much as you can. We love to do it, and the more you keep coming at over here and listening to us speak about some crazy shit, the more we're gonna do it. So, we appreciate the support.
These are the facts.
We love
you goons.
We love you goons. This might easily be the longest episode we have, so we hope you we're really kind of starting off the year strong.
Gang.
So let us know, reach us at stories_boys on Twitter, and let us know if there's any topics you want us to discuss. We're always open to suggestions, and just, keep in contact, goons. Keep in contact.
Okay. Bye.